I'm trying to do my normal intro, but I want it themed. What's the Elvish word for friend?
I don't know. I don't speak Elvish.
I have no idea.
Oh, you guys, you're killing me. You're killing me. That's in Fellowship of the Ring. Frodo asks Gandalf what the Elvish word for friend is. It's Melloch. But anyway, friends, Roman countrymen, lend me your pointed Elvish ears. This is CinemaTalk, the official podcast of RuleThirds.com. And as I so gracefully alluded to, without the help of my co-hosts, today we're talking some Lord of the Rings, some Tolkien. It's our review of The Hobbit, the Battle of the Five Armies. The final Peter Jackson Tolkien movie, maybe.
For
For now, at least. We don't know what the future will bring, but for now it is the last one. Big deal. Here we talk about it. So let's get to it. My name is Sean.
My name is Larry.
And my name is Max.
Okay, I don't know. That was a little slurred there.
Seems a little slurred.
I was hungry, okay?
Yeah, okay. Well,
All right,
anyway.
Great, Max.
Let's get our food at the appropriate location
seriously.
of the lobby.
Yeah, step up your game, Max. Come on.
Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
I'm gonna miss that. I'm gonna miss that.
Well, it's not leaving. It's not leaving.
Everyone,
I like that as a theme song.
Come on. I know. We'll get to that later. Welcome, everyone, to CinemaTalk, podcast for RuleThirds.com. And actually, this is the last time we get to call it CinemaTalk, because the next episode, we're just going to start calling it Rule Thirds, because we're going to just a podcast now. So it's just Rule Thirds.
RuleThirds.com. We're just a podcast.
We're just a podcast. That's our tagline. So anyway, welcome, Larry, Max. How was everyone's holidays? I gotta be inclusive here. Everyone's holidays?
Holidays? Yeah, it's peaceful. It's good.
Yeah.
Lots of movies. Lots of catch-up.
It was fine. I didn't actually watch any movies, but much
really?
like a certain DreamWorks franchise, my Christmas was pretty toothless.
Okay,
I know, but in all seriousness, I'm in a lot of pain.
I will get. That was kind of clever. I'll give you that. A little clever. The whole because your wisdom teeth thing that you were doing.
Yeah. Way to ruin that for an upcoming joke of mine, Max. Anyway, I'll do it anyway. So, not only did we just get through holiday season, but when you're listening to this, it is December 31st. We are on the verge of 2015. Where
boy.
Another year older.
That's going to be a year.
Wiser. Some of us have a little less wisdom. Teeth. There it is. Anyway,
I asked
son
the,
of a bitch.
I asked the guy who took out my wisdom teeth. Asked him this, if they're useless and all they do is make your life worse and you have to get them removed, why do they call them wisdom teeth?
That's a good point.
And I was being completely serious.
And so we have no answer to that question.
Yeah.
Well,
all
anyway,
right, great.
So, like I was saying, we're restructuring the podcast to be about dentistry.
Yeah.
So, stay tuned for that.
RuleThirds.com, your one-stop shop for
now,
all things dentist related and teeth and whatnot.
Yes, but for now, let's talk about boring movies, right?
Yeah.
Actually, before we get started, Sean, hey, to follow up on last week's podcast, what happened to the interview?
Oh, right. Let's really quickly do that. It came out on YouTube, an Xbox
everywhere,
thing, bunch of streaming,
online.
And now it's actually on iTunes. Hurrah!
Oh, is it on iTunes? Great.
Yes, and I did watch it, and I did enjoy it. It's not nothing amazing, but I did like it. So that's all I've got to say about the interview. I'm really glad it got released. I'm glad people are seeing it to kind of insult those that would have us do otherwise. And we got a decent enough comedy out of it. So happy ending.
Yeah, pretty much. I saw at least 10 tweets that just said "fuck North Korea" with a picture of the interview on TV, and I'm just like, okay,
yeah, well, who knows if it was actually?
Did you guys see? Did you guys see what Seth Rogen tweeted at Verge?
Oh,
Verge
yeah.
was just talking about how the interview is not a good movie, and then he tweeted, "Go fuck yourselves."
Oh boy.
Yeah. Well,
I don't condone that kind of behavior, but I do enjoy it.
Okay, we're way over our normal swearing limit, and we're way over time to start the actual stupid topic. Like I said earlier, we are here to review The Hobbit, the Battle of the Five Armies. There are 5 of them, it's a lot of armies.
Yeah, really.
And as always, we want to keep our reviews spoiler-free, but we can't because we want to talk about details and stuff. So the beginning of this podcast is the spoiler-free part. We'll just go around, quickly give our thoughts and a score, and then we'll say, begin spoilers, and go in a nice in-depth discussion for those that have seen it or don't care. Though we always maintain that you should go in without spoilers, because that's how the movie was meant to be watched.
Exactly.
But that's up to you. So, let's get right to it. Larry, I'm curious. Larry, give us your, synopsis, I guess, of your thoughts and the score, please.
All right. Well, it was good. It was actually really good. I think that this is probably... it's not... I personally felt Desolation of Smaug was just a little bit more fulfilling to me. Just because of, Smaug. I mean, there's just no topping that. But without a lot of Smaug, the movie is still very impressive visually, and with its action scenes. It has probably the best action scene of the year, which is half of the damn movie. So I am going to give it 8.5. Really enjoyed myself watching it. Definitely a great end to this franchise.
All right, Max, why don't you give us your summary?
I also enjoyed it. Aside from some story mishaps that really can only be described as trilogy problems, this final installment was it was conclusive. It got all the stuff that it needed to. It got it done. It really does have a fantastic, really long action sequence, and it ties everything up together really well. And it does kind of prove to me that this was never really an intent to adapt the book, as it was just to get the gang back together and have some fun. And so that's exactly what happened. So I would probably give it a 7.5 out of 10. And I recommend it. Go check it out.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this will be an interesting discussion.
Oh, God. Here we go.
I did not enjoy this movie.
Really?
I'm quite disappointed. It felt empty. I don't think any of it, worked. It never felt that it was doing the right thing. It just came up short in, every regard. And I don't think it was terrible. It had some great moments. But it was certainly the weakest of the Hobbit trilogy, by far. And it just has the least to offer. And I'm actually going to give it a 5.5 out of 10.
All right. Well, we are starting this off with a bang.
Okay. So there you go. You got an 8.5.
The battle of the three critics begin.
Here we go.
We got a 7. We got an 8.5. We have a 7.5. Yes.
Yeah,
Max,
7.5
and a 5.5. There you go. Take that for what it's worth. I don't think you should really go see it. You don't have to rush out. If you're a fan, whatever. But,
let's be real. It's been out for a few weeks. I mean,
right,
if you haven't already seen it,
or you care, just stop now, because now we get into spoilers. Now we'll actually talk specific plots and have a full discussion. So yeah, begin spoilers.
Okay, so can I start us off with what I think is the biggest problem with this movie?
Yes.
See, I think overall, there are a lot of people who really don't like these movies, and I can sort of understand where they're coming from. But something I can totally jump onto is the fact that that this trilogy that is supposed to tell one big story does not really spread out the story very well in between movies. Such is the case with Battle of the Five Armies, which gets the worst of this hack of this flaw, because we begin this movie with a battle with Smaug, and then it just kind of goes to the next story.
Yeah.
What really should have happened was
this is by far this was hurt a lot when it was split to 3 movies, I bet.
Yeah, this is
by far, it seems to me,
this is what should have ended the last movie. The first movie should have gotten all the way up until they get to that mountain. The second movie should have just been all Smaug all the time, all up until his death. And then, third one would have just been there's all... could have ended on a cliffhanger, where they're there's all that wealth now, and then everybody's holy shit. And then, the build-up, and then Battle of the Five Armies.
See, I think even without the very brief scene with Smaug, which, that's the thing, I read the book, so I knew that was coming. I imagine, if you did, that would be kind of disappointing, honestly. Where it's oh my goodness, the dragon's let loose. Oh, the big antagonist of the next movie.
Who killed him in the books? My girlfriend and I were talking about this. What? Who was?
Bart the Bowman.
Yeah.
Oh, he's okay. I heard it was I heard it was one of the dwarves. Okay.
No, it was him.
That was Bart the Bowman.
It was Bart.
Okay, so here's kind of the problem for me, at least. This didn't feel like a complete movie. This did not feel like a beginning, middle, and end.
Totally understand
Yeah.
where you're coming from there.
Now, and that's not a problem with it, like, overall. That's a problem that seeps into every element for me. You get what I mean? It's not like, well, it'd be great, I'm going to knock it a little bit because it didn't feel so complete. This is like, it actively worked against what the movie was trying to do. Because I felt like it got started too fast. You know, it just hit the ground running, and it didn't build in. Because even Desolation of Smaug, which, it had a kind of quick start. At least it kind of worked its way into it. You know, we had just come off a big cliffhanger. They were just running. They meet this new character, whatever. It had a decent enough, like, you eased into it. You know, you were eased into it. Mm-hmm. But in the case of the Battle of the Five Armies, it really bothered me that, 8 minutes in, it acted like it had already been going for like an hour. And I was not in it. And it thought that I was. And it just kept going and going when it hadn't, earned that, I guess. It's almost as if it had thought we had just finished watching Desolation of Smaug.
Now, I had already... What's funny is I just watched Desolation a week before I saw this movie, and even though I had already seen it, very recently, it still felt, oh, okay, we're just done? Oh, okay, we're just moving on. All right.
Yeah, it just moved on. And I think that was just, it never got over that. You know, it didn't feel like I was easing in. I was like, okay, let's get settled in for this movie. Here's our small scale. Oh, it's escalating. It was just, boom, you're in it.
I agree with that. Now, I don't necessarily, I'm not going to totally jump on your train, Sean, just because I don't agree with everything you're saying. But here's my only major problem with this is that I feel the beginning is poorly structured. I feel that starting off with the Smaug battle really just, it didn't work with the rest of the movie. It just felt like this event that was smacked on to the beginning of this movie.
Well, right.
And just, it didn't feel that it was naturally progressing towards the battle. Like the big
This is probably, I read the book. So I knew that this, Tolkien likes doing double climaxes, kind of. With the Lord of the Rings trilogy, the scoring of the Shire was the second climax, but that was cut out entirely from the movies, which I think was a really good move. But in this case, it was kind of impossible to cut out the double climax, being Smaug and, the actual Battle of the Five Armies. It's just impossible to cut out one of those.
I know.
And so I always was wondering, it's from when they announced that they're making The Hobbit, I said, I wonder how they're going to handle the double climax. This is definitely the worst option they had. Mm-hmm. To just make one of the climaxes just the very beginning of your movie.
Yeah, I know. I want to bring this up. I really did want to talk about this because I was afraid that I was the only person who was thinking about this. Because here's the thing about Desolation of Smaug, right? Desolation of Smaug was an interesting movie. I was engaged, but once Smaug came, I was in. Got me.
I really like Desolation.
And I know. And if we had taken the first 5 or 6 minutes of the third movie, the one that we're talking about right now, and we just attached it to the end of the second, it wouldn't have made much of a difference. It would have felt a lot more complete. In fact, I feel that Desolation of Smaug, the only part that annoyed me was that we had to kind of cut it there because it just didn't really feel complete, even though it sort of did. It just didn't feel complete enough. Here,
maybe that is kind of the source.
Yeah,
of it.
Here we have not only Desolation of Smaug that we have to deal with the Smaug and battle scene. We also have to deal with the side plot with Gandalf in the beginning. Also dealing with the plot that kind of works with the original trilogy. And let me be clear. I want to be clear. I think it's an interesting idea to include that.
Oh yeah, definitely. No, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I'm all for it. But honestly, after having rewatched the movies a few months ago, I feel it's totally unnecessary. I feel that if they had got it out, because my favorite part of these movies is the story and the relationship between Bilbo, Thorin, Gandalf, and the dwarves. That's really where the heart of this movie lies for me. The romance can suck it. When we're dealing with those characters, no offense, I love Gandalf, but I don't care about what's going on, with Sauron. I really don't, because I'm more curious about Bilbo, not Sauron, because I already watched 3 movies where I was already invested in that story. Maybe if there was a short film or some sort of extra where they had made that to kind of be attached to Lord of the Rings, fine. But it just gets in the way, and in my opinion, it almost takes a little too long until we finally get to not the battle, but the tension before the battle, where we have Thorin turning into this terrible, this terrible dwarf just with this lust for gold and his honor. And we have that kind of butting heads with Bilbo and Gandalf and Bard and all of the other characters. That was so much more interesting.
Now, okay, as somebody who hasn't read the book, I just want to say I really enjoyed that scene with Sauron and Sauron and
I can understand why you would. I just don't feel it was
great
necessary.
addition. I think,
I mean, it's total fan service, but it's great.
Well, right, that's the thing. We cannot avoid the fact that the Hobbit is in the shadow of Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, there's no way you can ever
so I liked this subplot of the beginnings of what would turn into the big Sauron problem. And also, this was in the Hobbit book, kind of. Gandalf does disappear for big chunks of time, and we don't know what's going on.
Yes.
So it's not like this was totally just thrown on, hoping to get some Lord of the Rings, credibility. There's at least some basis for it in the original story, but it isn't totally.
I personally feel like those parts. I was always questioning where Gandalf was throughout the Hobbit. Don't get me wrong, but I just feel it gets in the way though of the far more interesting story with Bilbo. I feel Martin Freeman just does a great job here.
Yes, Martin Freeman is the best part of these movies. He's an amazing actor, and he does so well with this character.
If only they used him a little bit more in the freaking movie called The Hobbit.
I know. By far the biggest offender of use your Bilbo.
Use your Bilbo.
Richard Armitage did a very good job as Thorin.
Very good.
It's a very interesting character. I really like where this movie took that character, where he was really obsessed and stuff. Like, again, there are good elements here. This is not a bad movie. There are definitely good elements. I just think overall it's kind of weak. So Thorin was one of the strong points, but I feel like they kind of forgot that the movie is called The Hobbit. Now, people had this complaint with the first two movies, and I don't know, especially the first one, it was kind of from Bilbo's perspective. It was kind of, we were with him on the journey. The second was a little less so, but still a lot of Bilbo. This was the one I feel like people should be complaining. Give us more Bilbo, because you have this amazing actor giving an amazing performance, and yet he doesn't get as much screen time as like Thorin, who was doing very well, don't get me wrong. It's just, I don't know, he's not as engaging to me as
And
Bilbo
Thorin's
is.
a piece, I don't like Thorin's character all that much. I think he's just way too evil. And that's just a personal, and I just wish they would focus more on freaking Bilbo instead of this freaking evil guy.
Well, to be fair,
evil, like this was not evil, but this whiny brat who's just always I want
to be
gold.
fair, I know this doesn't really help the movie as a singular thing, but to be fair, if we're looking at the progression of the character, he finally has it, and he's not willing to let it go. He's made this entire journey to finally get his honor back with his riches.
I think it totally works. Again,
and I think it helps. It helps make the character vulnerable. And that scene where he gets swallowed up by the gold pool, I guess.
That was silly. I thought that was very silly.
I thought it was
really weird. That came out of nowhere, and even though I understand what it was used for, it just kind of like
has never done like dream sequences before. That was way out of place.
I disagree. I thought it was visually interesting, and I don't know. It did a fine job of just showing me instead of having to just shove it down my throat.
I would agree with that. But it also just kind of felt like it came out of nowhere, and it just kind of like, oh, okay, now the conflict's resolved. Like, it didn't feel like it was a natural progression. It just felt like there's this conflict, let's just get rid of it right now.
Yeah, but that was only resolved to him, though. He still had to resolve his problems with the other characters, though. Which is why we get that great scene towards the end with Bilbo.
That's true, but like his own greed, I don't know, it just kind of felt like it just came out of nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, okay, Larry, you did bring up a good point, where it's like, what if Smaug was just at the end of the last movie, and this one started with the aftermath? Would that have been better? I would probably say yes, but I still don't think that these pieces work as well as in the previous movies, and that's kind of shown here. Like, that dream sequence, no matter where you are in a movie, no matter if it's two movies, one movie, whatever, I don't think that dream sequence would work. And that's just an example.
Okay. Again, I haven't read the book, but up until this movie's release, I was always like wondering, like, is the Battle of Five Armies a battle of five armies against Smaug? And then somebody told me, no, it's just another battle. I'm like, how are you going to get rid of Smaug without making it feel rushed? And then they just totally kind of they answer my question.
Made it rushed.
Well,
exactly.
Yeah, that's the problem. Like, in the book, like, that's the thing about pacing in books. You can do that because it's not all in one go. But a movie, they really had to try and fix that somehow, and I don't think they did a good job fixing it.
Yeah,
it's like if you're about to like run, like it's like holding your breath and then running, and you got to get to the other side of like this 50-foot like thing. 50 feet doesn't sound that much, but when you're holding your breath and you got to go in one go, that's really difficult.
Yeah, exactly.
And
so guess what? Your heroes defeat Smaug. Oh, great! You just put in a bookmark, set it down. But not a movie.
Yeah, in a movie-
you can't have that break. You're
Especially
gonna
for a
keep going.
3-part movie. Yeah.
Mhm.
But if they
Yeah.
could have had that sort of bookmark break, if they had just attached the beginning of the third to the end of the second, and it would have felt so much more complete. I was, at the end of Desolation of Smaug, I was begging for more. I wanted more Smaug.
I really liked the end of Desolation. Like, that was awesome how Smaug did that amazing, like, monologue, and then just Bilbo, what have we done? Slammed to block, like, oh, that was so good. But then this movie suffered because of that. I don't think it was worth it.
Okay, so, like, I guess you're saying, like, Desolation is still fine. I think Desolation is probably the strongest of the trilogy.
I don't know. I really like Unexpected.
I do
really
like Unexpected Journey also. I'm one of the...
Unexpected Journey also has the benefit of having the best scene, and arguably the best scene in the entire Lord of the Rings saga, all 6 movies, which is Riddles in the Dark.
Okay, that's true.
What is that?
Very...
What is Riddles in the Dark?
That was
Max.
Bilbo and Gollum.
Come on.
Exchanging riddles.
The highlight of the whole movie.
Yeah, Riddles in the Dark.
Now,
right,
to be
right,
fair,
okay.
I am one of the only people who I know who actually doesn't feel that it takes a while for Unexpected to get started. I felt that the beginning of Unexpected Journey was a perfect way to start world building, establish characters.
Yeah, you gotta have
And I had so much fun with the blunt the knife sequence.
Yeah,
It looked cheesy, but I enjoyed it a lot.
Maybe that's maybe just to bring it back to this movie, because we should try to stay focused. Maybe that is kind of part of this. We're talking about a third in a series, and of course you're not going to have a really good starting point, and you can't world build from nothing. That's the benefit of being a first movie. Fellowship had that benefit, and so did Unexpected Journey. But even Smaug started out with some world building and some quiet character stuff. You remember how Smaug began? It was just the bear guy. Can't remember his name.
Radagast?
What? No. The guy that was literally a bear.
Oh.
And then turned into a giant.
Literally a bear.
And it was quiet. I was like, ooh,
Yeah,
this kind of
they built it up.
His name should be literally
being.
Bear.
That's cool.
Yeah, they built it up really well.
Journey and the spiders and Mirkwood. That was a good escalation.
Spiders was good. Yeah, that scene was great.
But I think that, I would sort of agree, but I would still think that it should just it should have ended when they it should have began when they got to the freaking mountain, and also explain how Gandalf isn't with them anymore, and then just had all of Smaug in one movie. The Desolation of Smaug. There's no desolation until Smaug gets to the town. I know that he did Desolation a long time ago, but the Desolation of Smaug in the Hobbit story happens in the second in the movie that comes after that movie. I never even thought of that before. Okay. The Desolation happens in the Battle of the 5 Armies.
I think we've been going for a while. I think we should step back, because most of our things we've been talking about
have been revolving around the trilogy.
Are just it should have been 2 movies, or here's where the movie should begin.
Right.
That's
true. But I think it's also. But I think it's also a good point just to point. I think it's also just good to point out that this is narrative progression. If you're going to adapt the book, and once again we do want to emphasize that the books, in comparison to a movie's quality, does not matter.
Right.
It's still good to it's still good to talk about narrative progression when you're trying to adapt a book. I know a lot of our complaints are, it should have been this. It should have been 2 movies, or it should have been this movie, should have been this, but. That's kind of where the Battle of 5 Armies just kind of sucks, sort of. Is that it just
it's in the structuring of it.
Yeah, its structure is kind of a mess because it had to deal with the sort. It's let's see. I think the best way to describe it is it's like a toppling tower. It's the first go. It's okay, you can kind of keep it going. Second guy who has to keep it up is okay, this is kind of difficult. Third one is going to smash him completely because it was falling in the first place.
Yeah, this is an issue that I have with the structuring of the movies is an issue I have really with almost all of the Hobbit movies. Just not overall, but just in small moments. I feel the ending of Unexpected goes on a little too long. Desolation was pretty much safe until I realized that the ending just should have been tacked on to Desolation. And here with 5 Armies, we're just thrown in, and it just shifts, and it's just a mess, really.
Yeah. I think that was a big hit, just from a movie-making standpoint. And again, you can't excuse everything but it's like that in the book. I get that. And just for the record, I'm not suggesting that they cut out the Battle of the 5 Armies or Smaug.
No,
those
of course not.
Critically important
Of
parts
course
of the
not.
Hobbit
You can't do that.
story, and they're really good too. You wouldn't want to cut them out because those are cool events to do. However, it doesn't work as a movie to start with this giant action sequence. And okay, it's very common for movies to begin with action sequences. Okay, to get you
absolutely
in right away, and then calm down and ease up. But in this case, it was way too big.
It was Smaug, for God's sakes.
Yeah, it was Smaug. It was literally the biggest thing in the series, physically.
Here's a good parallelism. Imagine if So going back to the movie we reviewed 2 weeks ago, if Mockingjay started with the burning of District, like, was it 12? District 12?
Yeah.
The one that,
Yep.
like, at the end of Catching Fire, they're like, dude, District 12 is, like, blown the hell up. See, the Hobbit equivalent would be if Mockingjay began with District 12 being blown the fuck up.
No,
Like-
I think actually a more apt, like a better thing is what if instead Catching Fire ended with, I have this plan to you with the tree and the lightning hitting and all this. Okay, let's do it. Cut to black.
Oh, that's
And
better,
then
yeah.
Mockingjay begins with this epic shooting the dome at the games.
Yeah.
And Hatton's
That's a
being
much
lifted
better
out, the
description,
region
yes,
is
all right.
destroyed,
I find it-
I
and then
agree with that,
comes
yeah.
back down.
Yeah, like, I find it interesting that out of the 2 part 3s of major sagas we've gotten in December, one of them is a perfect example of how to handle part 1s and
Yes.
part 2s, and one of them is a terrible example of
Yeah,
how to
that's the
handle
thing.
it.
Yeah.
Mockingjay had a book that it split into its own parts as a movie.
Yeah.
And it did it really well. And then Hobbit had a book that it decided to split into its own parts for its movies and did it poorly.
Yeah.
And they're back to back for us, like in terms of our review. So it is a good contrast. I'm glad we brought that up. Actually, it's a little off topic, but I think it illustrates the idea.
Okay, now,
Can we transition?
But it's good. Sean, you did bring up a good point. Let's talk about the movie's own merits instead of always talking about like what like other than its structure. Like, what do we like? I mean, the Battle of the Five Armies totally lived up to the name.
The
yes.
Battle of the Five Armies. Can we talk about that?
Yeah, now let me say this. Battle of Five Armies does have my favorite single moment. Probably single moment, or at least single shot. No, favorite moment would have to be Pelennor Field's charge in Return of the King. But, like, single shot in the Lord of the Rings, like, saga, all 6 movies. And that's when the Dwarfs of the Iron Hills form up the shield formation. Right? And then
It's a great shot.
the elves aren't attacking, and Gandalf's like, this is
Yep.
madness.
Yeah.
And then it shows this wall of these shields. The orcs are about to crash in, and these elves leap over with their swords drawn. Like, that was just... I almost cried at how awesome it was.
Yep.
Yeah, the Battle of Five Armies is totally awesome, and perhaps my favorite. Come on, Sean,
look,
you were just telling me how you almost cried.
I think we should.
That's the thing,
I think
okay.
we need to establish one thing, and this is my personal opinion. I don't know if Sean agrees with this because, hell, I don't know what he's about to say. But I think that there are so many movies this year that have great action sequences. Okay, there were tons of great action movies this year. But this one is just more impressive in the fact that it still managed to have me completely invested with an action scene for what? 30, 45 minutes? And it just kept going and going and going.
Here's what I think. Okay, here's why I was disappointed with the actual Battle of the Five Armies. I was really excited because we didn't get a Hobbit battle, really, ever. The only thing we got was a glimpse of one in Unexpected Journey. Do you remember that? It was Thorn was talking about his father's death at the hand of Azog. And it was amazing because it was huge. It was this amazingly, like, romanticized yet gritty, huge scale, epic confrontation that felt ancient and important, and like it just had such weight, and it was handled so well. Like, it looked cool. It wasn't as gritty as Lord of the Rings battle, but it wasn't, it had weight to it. Like, it was just, I loved that scene, even though it was only glimpses at this battle. And so when I heard that at Battle of the Five Armies, of course, not only did it have the whole battle in it, but it was 45 minutes long. I got really excited. And then how do I put it? It was it was too small. That's the thing. And it's not small in terms of numbers. In fact, what should have... I didn't get this feeling from it. Maybe this, like, if you counted, it's true. The Battle of Five Armies had more people, creatures involved than any conflict in Lord of the Rings. According to the books. It did not feel that way. At all. The Siege of Minas Tirith and the Charge of Pelennor Fields felt way bigger than anything, even all the moments combined of the Battle of the Five Armies. And I think the problem was just a basic approach to the small versus big. For me, it felt way too small in its focus. Like, it didn't hit that balance of massive war. Like, we just saw Thranduil fighting in a courtyard. We just saw Bar de Bowen fighting in like a narrow streetway. It didn't feel like a massive battle. It felt like these small skirmishes, and at the same time you were supposed to think, oh, there's other skirmishes right next door, but we didn't like see that. We didn't feel that. I mean, in Lord of the Rings,
I understand that.
Tirith, they show the siege happening
That's true.
dozens of places at once. We see unnamed characters fighting them off. We see random civilians running from orcs. Like, they sold the scale.
Yeah, we definitely get a lot
here's
more.
Here's Thranduil, here's Bilbo, here's Thorin, here's this. It was just their individual little fight.
Yeah,
moments.
the movie is forced. The action scene is forced to juggle a lot of different situations we're going on.
And I don't know if it did that very well.
Now, I would understand where you're coming from, but here's the thing about that. I feel I get what you're saying, but I feel you're sort of allowing your knowledge of the past movies to get involved.
Oh, no. I mean, I'm just bringing that up because I mean, it's just a very easy and appropriate counterexample. Even without the Lord of the Rings movies, I did not feel the scale that this battle should have. Because we see these giant sweeping shots, and you're like, this is going to be huge. But then the individual close-up shots of the action or anything like that, it felt small. It felt smaller, even not compared to Minas Tirith.
I guess
I didn't mean to come across like, you had to be like Lord of the Rings.
I mean, I guess you have a point where it's like there's not as much, look at all of these huge armies slashing swords and fighting one another.
And it's not scale as in pull back the camera.
Right.
It's scale as in, how big is this? Where is it affecting? Really, we just got, here's a character fighting in like 12 shots. Like 12, like a bunch of moments we see them fighting. Here's this other character fighting over and over. I mean, it's still just that character fighting orcs. And like, hey, where else is it affecting? We know that character has to deal with it. Like, is the town breached somewhere else? The dwarves are fighting here. Yeah. What about the other orc army? Let's cut over to there. Are the elves fighting them? Are the Riverton people fighting the other orcs? Now, what about this? Like, you know what I mean? Like, we needed to check in other places. I only got a few little glimpses of the action. It's like there was this giant war going on, but we didn't get to see that. We just got to see little bits.
I will admit, though,
the
scene with Thorin and his, brother? What's his name? His cousin? The one that, rides in as the big, long beard.
What's his name?
I think it was his cousin.
And it has that really graining, silly-sounding accent. But I feel that scene in particular is probably one of my favorites because it just sort of shows... It's one of those battle scenes that shows two characters fighting off other characters in the middle of an already huge swarm of people battling each other. And I get where you're coming from. It could have been great if we had more of that, but I still think the scenes where we get the individuals, we get Thorin going up to the orcs to to defeat the leader, where it's really a trap in the end. I think the scenes where Bilbo tries to fight off some guys. I think the scene, which is the dwarf with the love interest. With Keely. Okay, his scenes where he was fighting were also good. Because I like these characters, I liked when we got to see them fight also. And it's great choreography, it's great shots, it's very well handled for the most part.
Yeah.
Okay, I know what Max is about to say.
No, guys, I'm not really that familiar with Lord of the Rings, so let me know when I can talk about the ending, because the ending of the battle, not the ending of the movie. The ending of the battle,
you mean
I need to talk about.
Thorin and the orc?
No, I mean the part where we literally see the exact same thing happen from freaking the first movie and also two of the other Lord of the Rings movies.
The Eagles are coming.
Okay, can we just say, I think if anything, the Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings movie taught me as a viewer that Eagles are OP and need to be nerfed. This is ridiculous.
OP, please nerf.
Yeah.
OP, please nerf.
They are in the OU tier, they need, this is ridiculous. They just, first off, my favorite part of this movie was the part where they get everybody back, where the eagles fly in all the people, the dude turns into the bear and he jumps down. I love that. That's you don't mess with Mother Nature right there. But just seeing all the old characters come back, that was a really cool moment for me personally, because I had seen all these movies and, it was just cool to see them come back and actually fight. But the eagles just come in and render them useless because they just destroy everybody. And I also want to say the battle itself ends with the same freaking sunrise as the first as an unexpected journey, as the Return of the King, and I'm pretty sure as the Fellowship of the Ring. I don't know what it is, but it's the exact same color, the exact same ending. I
think that's intentional.
Okay, I mean, but okay, there's being intentional, and there's just kind of utilizing an asset that could be easily that could be where you could in a place where you could find different ways to sort of end it. I don't know, it just felt so forced. Okay, all the eagles are here. All right, the battle is over. They are just going to destroy everybody.
But do you really want to just watch an action scene where literally every single body one by one.
Well, it would be nice to see like the battle like end instead of just like them just showing up out of nowhere.
I guess so, but I mean, I just felt it's just a story. It's
just
a story element, though, as far as I'm concerned. I didn't mind it that much.
Yeah, we can say that it's a bad one, and I agree. And again, Max, let's just take it out of context. Just as a movie, it just, there was this epic struggle, and there was this approaching threat that they had no chance of fighting, and then just, oh, sorry, that drama's gone.
Yeah, it's over. Eagles. Hey, what's up, guys?
It's Eagles.
And again, I enjoyed the battle, and I realized that if the Eagles had not come, we probably would have had a freaking 4-hour movie, and that's not even talking about the extended edition. But like, it's still, I think it just kind of like felt like they were just reusing old assets. Like, okay, so one of my favorite film critics basically said that, like, basically revealed to me, like, it made me consider that this isn't so much like a direct adaptation of the Hobbit book, as well as just like using the book as a platform to just kind of do fan service and have everybody just back together to do one last thing. I mean, that scene with freaking Gandalf and Saruman and all those guys, like, that's total fan service. And so, that's totally cool with me, because, I mean, whatever, right? It's like, it's fine. That's fine with me, because I'm not a big Lord of the Rings fan, but to have, like, the same shit happen with this movie as in not only the other Lord of the Rings movies, but in another Hobbit movie, just seems like it's just bad utilization. It's just bad utility. Does that make any sense?
I sort of see where you're coming from.
Get it.
I think I ran home the point about 37 times.
Well, I'm the one that was just repeating over and over. This was bad structuring of the trilogy. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So we've talked. Let's get to like a little more character stuff. It's a little late in the game, but whatever. We already talked about Martin Freeman. He's wonderful.
Actually, wait. Can we make like one last statement on the action? Like the action itself. Did we like it?
Yes.
I liked it.
That's good.
I liked it.
Come on.
I think
this is Peter Jackson we're talking about.
Okay.
Oh, come on, Sean.
No,
I hope
Come on. The scene with Thorin and the orc, the final showdown. One of my favorite action scenes in the whole trilogy.
Okay, that was like super like hero goes down. Like that was cliched, kind of.
What else did you want? That's exactly how it goes down. A more natural
progression of death. Like this, I think that's what this movie's missing. It's not natural. Like its progression, its pacing is not natural at all.
Thank you. That's a great way to put it. None of it felt like it should be where it is or at the level it should be.
Like, I'm sorry, like the most like not cliche, but the most like forced way you can have a hero die is if he dies while also killing the other guy. Like that's ugh.
I mean, to be fair, that was like that scene. It was kind of building towards that, like that the relationship between Thorin and Azog was like built up since movie 1. But But also, again, the books don't matter. But if they had let Thorin live, that would have been pretty. Like,
I mean, they had to kill Thorin somehow. Otherwise, people would be asking, "Where's he in the Lord of the Rings movie?"
Okay, well, how else?
Look, let's not sit here and talk about alternatives or anything.
Yeah.
Like that.
Well, I mean, but I liked it though. I liked how they handled it. I liked Thorin as a character, so it kind of seemed kind of valiant to me. I mean, it is a cliche idea, admittedly, but I don't know. Cliches are not always a bad thing. And if I'm enjoying myself, and I mean, just the scene where what's the name of that orc? Sorry, I'm not really good with all these. Azog. He falls underneath the icebergs. The suspense of him going underneath. Just the suspense and the passion that was going on. I liked it because I like these characters. I like the journey they're going through, and I thought it was a very just kind of triumphant ending, bittersweet. Yeah.
Had some assholes next to me. Like I had some like. Go on.
Well, I was just saying, like bittersweet's kind of Tolkien's thing, so I would guess it fit that. Sure.
Yeah. I oh god, I went up a bad movie going experiences. I had three huge Tolkien fans next to me, and when the guy burst, I was like, "Wait, doesn't he have hypothermia?" It's like I wanted to punch them all. I just wanted to punch them all. Anyway, yeah. So characters, okay. Do we want to get like
quickly talk action?
Oh, okay.
Like I didn't put my thoughts.
Oh, yeah.
It's not that memorable to me, honestly. Like
not even that shot that you were talking about that you liked.
Well, of course, that shot. Like if I did top 10 shots of the year, it would be like McConaughey lining up the shuttle with the station in Interstellar. It would be Maybe.
Well, wait a
Mystique
minute.
deciding whether or not to shoot at the end of Days of Future
Oh
Past.
my
but
God,
number
yes.
one by far would be that the elves jumping over.
Yeah.
Right. It has moments. And by the way, I don't care that they made Legolas just cartoonishly awesome.
Well, that's how he always has been, in my opinion.
Kind of. And I was talking with a friend of mine, huge Tolkien buff, and he said, if anything, the movies have downplayed how awesome elves are. Because in the Silmarillion, in the history of Middle-earth, the Morgoth, the great evil who Sauron was working for in ancient times, whatever, the ultimate evil, pretty much the devil, a single elf took on the ultimate evil and almost won. So I didn't mind that. So I would say there are moments of the action that work, including Legolas being awesome and Thranduil being awesome. However, it isn't as memorable to me for one reason or the other. It might be that it is too fantasy-like. It doesn't feel as weighted. Like, it has some weight to it, certainly. It's better than a lot of other like flashy fantasy type action. But I don't know. It didn't feel as heavy. It didn't feel as natural almost. Like, I don't know. It felt like more just swinging swords than it did really good choreography.
I will say one
thing. Mono. There were good moments in the mono fights, and there were quite a few of them in the movie. But it just, I don't know. It didn't stack up. I'm trying to remember them.
Just one question. One thing. Was it Bilbo where the bridge was collapsing and he ran up the bridge?
That was Legolas.
Okay, that was Legolas, right? Good. Those are the moments.
Legolas could pull that
I know.
off.
Those are the moments where like, okay, fine.
No. That was cool.
It was cool, but I hate those sequences because they're impossible.
At that time, I'd like given up on really getting into it, and so to see something as ridiculous as Legolas running up individual stones as they fell, like I was like, oh yeah, absolutely, go for it.
Okay,
yeah, do that.
You're Legolas. You're Legolas.
Yeah,
you can do that. That's just how
anyway. Let's quickly talk about the other important characters because
okay. So are we gonna talk about what is it, Tariel? Are we gonna talk about that whole thing?
First let's start with Gandalf because Ian McKellen is always great.
Yeah,
and he could play this character in his sleep, and I don't say that as a bad thing. He knows it. He nails it. Okay,
he's natural.
I wouldn't be surprised if he reprised that character for like a commercial or something in like 5 years. It's just like a commercial or like just something, because I think he loves playing that character. And you can totally see that when he's playing it.
Yeah.
Well,
he's done
see,
it for so many years.
Of course, he is wonderful.
Yeah.
Martin Freeman, we already said. But yes, let's talk about the pair. Orlando Bloom was Legolas, and Evangeline Lilly. I think
Evangeline Lilly.
Evangeline. Yes, thank you.
No, but what about the dwarf though? There's also that love triangle.
The dwarves.
Oh, okay, fine.
We're doing elves, brah.
All right, fine.
Elves.
Legolas, I think Orlando Bloom still does fine. I don't think there's any chinks really in there. Tariel, look, to Evangeline Lilly's credit, I think she does fine. I don't think there's really anything about her performance that's like, it's so weak. I just don't like the fact that the character exists.
Well, I mean, she was implemented specifically because the rest of the friggin' movie is a sausage fest.
Yeah, like, but that shouldn't
Tolkien
be...
Tolkien was never exactly kind to women in his book.
That's not a very... I mean, I guess to add maybe some interesting, banter, I guess for lack of a better word, fine. But I don't feel just because the world is very male driven that gives you the excuse to just make a female character out of thin air, especially when it has a romance that, while well done, still feels it takes up space and unnecessary
I don't think it was well done at all.
Well, okay, to give that credit, the person sitting next to me, when the climax of this story happened in this movie, I guess when the guy gets stabbed and killed, it totally caught her off guard, and she was like, she was not happy.
I'm happy they went for it.
Like,
I'm
not
happy
angry, but like
she
was in tears. Like, I guess so. I mean, it works for some people. It works.
I think it's great. I think it's great they stabbed
that they were going to tone down. Because like it was the thing when the first trailer came out for this movie and it was really dark and ominous. I saw a bunch of people online saying, "We've seen the other movies. That, this tone will not measure up. They're threatening something that's not going to happen." I'm like, if you read the book,
Yeah,
people die. And so I'm glad they didn't back down on that.
But I mean, it's weird how they killed the dwarf that's like lives in the book, I think, and then not
No. Keely dies.
Oh, he does no matter what. Oh,
yeah. They kept exactly who dies. They kept it the same in the movie.
Yep.
Healy, Feely, and Thorin.
Poor Feely.
Yep. Anyway,
but I mean, to not kill the nuke character seems kind of weird.
yeah, I thought they were both going to die. To be
No,
honest.
I never suspected. I didn't think it was going to be a Romeo and Juliet sort of thing. I thought they were just going to keep the dwarf dead, and then just have the elf character still there to mourn it. And to be fair, I think it's done fine. I just think it takes up space. It takes up so much unnecessary space.
I don't think it was well done. And again, I think Tariel is an interesting enough character on her own, but as soon as she was forced into the love triangle scenes, it didn't fit. She clearly wasn't happy with it. It was the actor wasn't happy with it. I'm not happy with it.
Wait, the actor? You mean Evangeline Lilly? What?
Yeah.
She was not happy with...
Has she expressed discontent with the whole love triangle thing?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah, because
that
it was
probably
her
makes it a little
thing
more
in
obvious.
Lost, the whole love triangle,
really?
And so she was kind of sick of it. And then it didn't happen. Yay! And then when it was split into 3 movies, they're like reshoots. How about love triangle? And
oh, what?
I know.
I want to see. No, wait. I want to see the freaking 2-parter. I want to see the movie, a 2-parter movie. That okay. Warner
That'd be
Brothers.
better.
There's a huge market for that. I would love to see that. Like just no reshoots. The 2 movies. Bam. Anyway, so that's interesting. But I mean, again, it just feel like okay. That love triangle. I don't know if it was well done or not. I really didn't care much for it, but
Same.
I mean, I guess it is interesting to try and like put that level of like, why haven't these guys? Why have we not seen any interspecies stuff? Well, that's probably why. Because
yeah. Well, okay. What other characters we really need to discuss? I mean, I really liked. I don't know why I really enjoy the character of Thranduil, the Elf King.
Oh yeah, Lee Pace.
Yeah,
he does a great job. Yeah, no problem with that.
It's the thing that we never like. It's such a he perfectly embodies the fantasy trope of the elf. You know, it's like he holds himself very highly, very regal, very holier than thou.
Yeah,
you know, like that's an essence that we'd never really seen before. Like that's like Galadriel was super cool to everyone. The other guy that she was with in Lord of the Rings trilogy was super cool. Mm-hmm. Elrond's cool and chill. Legolas is pretty chill. We finally got this mortals. Like, we finally got that. He's so good at it.
And on his badass, like, moose thing.
Yeah, his elk steed.
Yep.
And that's the thing. He didn't go over the top with it, though, which I think would have been dangerous in the wrong hands, you know, just so snobbish. But he was just the right amount. But he was genuine at moments. In fact, he was the only part that worked in that scene where Tariel was with Keely's body. He was the only part that worked out of that, you know. I didn't buy the Tariel emotion side, but for him I did. Because he's very good. Lee Pace is very good.
Yeah. That was
so, we also have Luke Evans as Bard the Bowman. I think he did okay.
Yeah, I think he did fine.
I think, like, also, I don't know. He felt a lot like Aragorn, in the sense that he felt like a leader, and I appreciated that.
Oh yeah,
you know, like he stepped up as their new leader. I'm like, this fits the character. So
I just don't think they gave him much to chew on. I think once he leaves Thorin and just says, "Oh well," he doesn't say it. Just fuck it, let's battle. It's just he's done. He's done. He's at the side.
That is kind of that's not even an overall problem. Name me a character that got a lot of focus.
Thorin.
Kind of, but even then, like, not as much.
Well,
as
it's just a matter of like you have such a big cast with so many characters, you have to juggle it. And like you think about films like X-Men: Days of Future Past, where you have
they kept it down
a large
to a
cast,
decent enough handful,
right? But it has a large cast, but there are the main characters that you care about. There's Logan, there's Magneto.
Days of Future Past was like 3 or 4 main that you follow, and then some people come in and out. You know, they drop in, drop out, and you care for a while they're there, then leave. But this was just, okay, everyone, you got to care about these 50 people at once.
Yes, 50 people at once.
Yeah.
Although I do feel Thorin did get more focus, but because he had to. He had to have the arc of him getting out of the whole greed thing and getting back into battle.
I mean, hey, that was actually kind of an improvement in the movies over the book. Like, Thorin, I never really got a sense of his character.
Right.
And so the movies kind of helped define that for me. So there you go. There's a praise for the movie over the book. Thorin's character, I think, was more distinct in the movies. I don't know. Maybe that was just me.
I wish honestly, if I'm going to be honest, like with these characters, I wish we got more Gloin, because I loved Gloin in the last movie.
Gloin
is the one with the white beard, right?
Yeah, he didn't have
his name is Bilbo. Yeah, I love that guy. I wish we had
He's
gotten more
very
of him in
good.
this movie.
Yeah, he's good. I like
Yeah,
him.
he's very good.
Is there any
I think
other-
that's it for characters.
And
Yeah,
that's
so
really
what else do we want to talk about?
it.
Like, okay, did you guys see this in 48 frames per second?
Nope.
I did.
I listen. I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I had the experience, but it was distracting. Like this is a really bad bias for me personally. Like it looked like a BBC miniseries.
I don't think it did. Honestly, I think I noticed it was nice in some of the action moments, but I would just call it unnecessary.
Yeah,
As
I think
opposed-
like
it wasn't bad.
the only
I
thing that
think
like
it was bad.
benefited
I
from it
think
was actually Smile.
distracting.
Yeah, I think
It was
Smile
just-
looked a lot better in 48 frames for some reason. I don't know why.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
for me, it was just like I don't know. It wasn't even like a nice addition. It just kind of was there, and it added to the ticket price. I bet. So I don't know if that's entirely necessary.
Yeah.
So you guys, if you don't need to bother.
You
seeing it
you
for
hypothetical listeners at home, don't worry about
Yes.
it. You can go. Just go see it in
see it
24. You're fine.
And
Like
the
you're not really
3D
missing
was
anything.
okay. You know, it had
Yeah,
the 3D
it was
decent
alright.
enough, but I don't know if it's
I
entirely.
you know what? No, actually, I take it back. I didn't even notice it. So
Look,
I didn't even notice any 3D. I
saw
was
this
at 3D.
non 3D, 24 frames, and I liked it more than either of these two. So I
Yeah,
think
but
you're
that
good.
doesn't- No. That's.
I'm
not
sure we
why.
weren't jaded by that. No.
Well,
let's
you
see.
might be, Max. You were the one that said it was distracting.
Well, no. I mean, okay, fine. Not so much. Yeah, it was distracting, but like, I don't think it was distracting to the point where like, oh, it knocks the whole movie down for me personally. I think it was just like, yeah, go see it in 24. Don't worry about 48.
Yeah.
24.
Video games frame rate really matters. Movies, I think
Yeah,
we're fine at
okay,
24.
it's a bias for me because I've seen like it looked like a video game cutscene sometimes, just like with the Amazing Spider-Man 2. Like it just that
like that is a problem just because it's really CGI heavy.
yeah, it's
another thing we
and like
could
it's just
mention.
because like it's not because the movie it should be just always 24 frames. It's just because other mediums have already taken up the other frames per second, so it's just kind of it makes it look more like those mediums instead of
Yeah.
movies, and that's
Which
really
isn't
it's a really
entirely fair,
bad,
but-
really kind of regressive bias, but that's just it. So let's see what
And
else.
don't tell James Cameron, by the way, he's really excited about
Oh
a
god.
high frame rate for Avatar.
Oh,
2,
he's
3,
going to do
and
60, isn't he? He's going to do 60
4.
frames per second.
I think he wants to do 60.
Oh my god!
Well,
I was just
anyway, guys.
What,
should
okay,
we
what
wrap
about
this up?
what about the like anything else like the music? Did we like the music? I like the music.
Yeah, of course.
I love
mean,
the overture. I think it's just like
yeah,
very
good
nice,
music.
very homey.
It felt appropriately epic at times, but it had its quiet moments. Like it was a good score, but I couldn't like point out a track.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah.
Where like a movie like Interstellar, like that track, like during that scene, oh my god, that was amazing. I couldn't do that with Hobbit. It fit. It wasn't like off. Like I wasn't watching and saying this music doesn't match at all. It was definitely good. It just wasn't outstanding.
Yeah,
So
like and the effects were overall very good. Like it was
Yeah.
all I mean, this is
Other
like
than that, I mean, it looked good. And again, the battle scenes looked good. I just think they weren't handled that well. So yeah, it wasn't jarring. Like the melted gold and smog didn't look
Oh.
that convincing.
really,
but
I
it
was
like
like
that
I was
here.
blown away by that. I love that scene, but
Like when smog is in the gold, yeah, that looks amazing. But the gold melting itself looked a little.
yeah. And okay, here's my question, and this has to do strictly with the movies. Okay, so there are a few lines that Gandalf says in The Fellowship of the Ring that I've been thinking about. Like, for example, when he says, I had nothing to do with the dragon thing. Like, it doesn't
Yeah.
Frodo ask him, and I'm like, okay, because he was, like,
Well,
not
yeah.
even there for that. What?
No, that was just him playfully deflecting the fact that he is the only reason Bilbo left.
Yeah, like,
Yeah, that was. He was
oh,
totally
okay.
involved.
Now, at the very end of the movie, we find out that it was actually Gandalf who knew that Bilbo had the ring, right?
Yep.
And why is he so surprised in Fellowship when, like, he discovers,
didn't
oh my
know-
god, he has...
Well, that's the thing. He just knows that Bilbo has a magic ring.
Oh,
Why on
okay.
earth would he guess that it's the ring?
The
Yeah.
one ring.
Duh.
Well, is it the only ring that can turn him invisible, or...
No, there's tons of magic rings, I bet, that can turn people invisible.
Yeah,
This is a
okay.
fantasy world. And Bilbo has one. Awesome. Whatever. I don't care. Go on your way, Bilbo.
Yeah.
And then later, oh crap.
Mhm.
It's the one ring.
Oh crap.
Yeah. Anyway, should we wrap this up? Because I can't think of anything
Yeah,
else.
I think we
really,
hit the
like-
major points.
So
Yeah,
let's do like just some closing arguments again.
Yeah, sure.
Now that we've kind of talked a bit, you guys weren't that positive. I thought I would have to fight
Yeah,
you
I'm
two
gonna
more.
I'm gonna go
Well,
ahead and knock this down a bit.
Well, wait,
Woohoo.
are we going the same order we did last time?
Go ahead, Larry. Go
I
ahead.
guess so.
Okay,
Yeah, go
because I still think this movie's very well made. The thing about this movie that's kind of saddening to me, and it's an unfortunate reality, but I just have to accept it. When I began compiling my list of the best of 2014, these movies didn't make the cut. And I was thinking to myself, why? I liked them. They were very well made. And really, technically, they're on par with the rest of the movies I saw. Besides for, of course, The Hobbit has a couple of narrative problems and structuring, whatever. The reason is because I'm happy that we're done with at least Hobbit. I know Mockingjay is a part 2, but I'm actually kind of excited for that one. But I'm not... I think this is a good example of why we don't need these stories that have to be extended to 3 parts. I mean, 3 parts. I think if we had those 2 parts, I will probably bet you that the narrative was stronger and much more coherent and cohesive in that 2-parter. And the 3 movies are fine. I get that. But franchise fatigue is starting to settle on me. And I think that this movie, the main problems with this movie are evident of this. But still, very well made, great action scene. The first few minutes where Smaug actually gets some damn screen time are awesome. And the battle, I think, is good. I'm just glad that we're done. The journey's over. Please don't make a Silmarillion movie. BBC miniseries, maybe. Yeah. No more movies. No more movies. 8.5 out of 10. I still stand by it.
Those are really conflicting statements.
I know. I know. This is a very well-made film, although Desolation of Smaug is better. But I'm done. It was a good story, and it's over. Please don't try to juice any more out of it. It's done. No, franchise fatigue.
No, I'm kidding. I'm scared that Game of Thrones is going to keep going on and on. I need it to end too. I get you. I was just kidding. Max, now that I've convinced you of its problems.
Well, no, I mean, I guess I also had a lot of problems with this movie that I didn't notice that I had up until now. I mean, listen, it's been a few weeks to sell the movie, right?
Yeah.
But even so, I still enjoyed the movie. It's not, I don't think it's not going to make my top list or anybody's top list for a while, or ever,
well,
I guess.
Don't doubt that.
But, okay, but still, it was still it was a thoroughly enjoyable movie that was still a fun time at the movies. The action sequences I thought were really good, even if I guess they were a little bit misplaced. And, I mean, even if we had to, and I think another movie critic I really enjoy pointing out the fact that Bilbo has always been kind of the guy who's just kind of there, and I guess it does make sense that he didn't really have much of a role in this. Even so, I think that's one of my things. I think a lot of my problems have been resolved if we just had more Bilbo. Hashtag needs more Bilbo. Anyway,
hashtag one last CinemaTalk.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, I enjoyed this movie, and I think, I would say it was a good movie, but I will say that the other arguments, it did kind of knock it down for me, so I'm going to instead give it a 7.0 out of 10.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Which I know isn't that big of a change, but still.
No, it's enough. I mean, yeah, for me, it just is kind of, it's like the quintessential of the year. There's always one a year, it seems, where I'm like, that's what people mean when they say this movie is just stuff happening. That's what this movie felt for me. It just felt like stuff happening. And I don't think that stuff was even that good, as excellent as some key moments are, which is why, again, I don't think it's a bad movie. It's on the plus side slightly. Again, I don't want to be that harsh. But it felt kind of empty. It didn't feel like it was coherently put together. It didn't have anything underlying. It was just kind of stuff happening, which might have been fine if it was stronger tied to other events. But it's on its own, and I have to judge it on its own because it is a movie independent from the rest. And as a movie on the rest, I don't think it's very good, despite some key pieces being good, like Martin Freeman, or like that awesome shot of the elves leaping over the dwarves. Again, that shot is awesome. I will frame that shot on my wall as a looping video, because it's a full shot. It's not
a GIF.
Anyway,
portable GIF.
Anyway, I didn't dislike it. I liked it a little because, again, there are it's more positive than negative, and it's not like I regret going, but I can't say that I wasn't disappointed. I am pretty disappointed. So, again, I'm going to give it a 5.5 out of 10.
Yeah. I feel like I've been liking too many movies.
We're closing in on the hour mark. Yep. And this review kind of it focused on certain elements a lot and skimmed over others. Don't know how even the review was, but I enjoyed discussing the film with you two.
Oh yeah, so I think this is a great way to end our run.
Yes, so this is the end of CinemaTalk. We're going to take a few weeks off because Max has something to do, but we'll be back in January. It's not like it's going to be February, and it'll be called Rule Thirds. But it's not like this is ending. It's the exact same podcast, just a different name, and maybe some things are mixed up. I don't know. But until this drastic new reboot, I guess. Oh no, Dark and Gritty reboot.
Can I ask a question real quick before we go?
What?
just out of curiosity, regardless of quality, which trilogy would you show your friend first? Hobbit, or like your friend who's never seen the Lord of the Rings movies? The Hobbit or the Lord of the Rings?
Hobbit. I don't know.
Hobbit.
It's like how I would probably show the new trilogy, and then the original, just chronologically.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably go with machete order for that, but I could probably stay with Hobbit then Lord of the Rings.
Okay. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, okay, now you can wrap it up, Shai. I was just curious.
All right. Well, until the next Giant Pretty reboot, my name is Sean.
My name is Larry.
And my name is Max.
And you will hear us later.
Mm-hmm.
In 2015.
In 2015.
When a new age of Rule Thirds begins.
And an age of Ultron.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Delicious things to eat.
The popcorn can't be beat. The sparkling drinks are just dandy. The chocolate bars and the candy. So let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.